Hello and welcome to Mr. Thompson's Math Tutorials. Today we're going to talk just quickly about exponents. So what I want to do is, first of all, just define a few things. So this part of the exponent right here, which is called the base, I've circled in green, and this part of the exponent, which I'm circling in red, is called the exponent. So this is the exponent. And exponential form allows us to repeatedly multiply the base times itself, however many times the exponent tells us to do that. So essentially what this is it's repeated multiplication, and that's an important idea. So what I'm doing is repeatedly multiplying the base times itself 3 times. So this would be 4 times 4 times 4. And that is what an exponent actually means. So 4 times 4 is 16, and then I would be multiplying that times 4 again, and of course this gives me 64. So this is equal to 64. Okay, all right. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they mistake this for multiplication. You are not doing this. You are not multiplying 4 times 3. This is wrong. So when you get 12 for an answer here, this is absolutely correct if I was multiplying 4 times 3, but not correct if I'm multiplying 4 times 4 times 4. So just be careful that you're not multiplying these two things together. Never do that. Okay? So it's repeated multiplication. That's a very important idea. All right, let's look at this. This we have right here, we have x to the exponent 3. So this is, again, equal to the base, which in this case is x, and the exponent, which is equal to 3, times itself 3 times. So if I was to write this, it would be x times x times x. So it's 3x's multiplied times themselves. And this would go for any variable with an exponent. So if I was to be looking at y to the exponent 3, this of course would be the same thing as just saying y times y times y. Okay? All right, well, let's look at some examples because there's some things I want you to be careful of. And it has to do with notation. And this is a problem that I see quite often in students' math work. And it's a bit confusing. And it has to do with this particular question right here, which is -4 squared. Now, this is not what you think it is. So a lot of students are tempted to say that this is, well, this must be -4 times -4. And so I should end up with, of course, positive 16. But that's actually not the case. And I'm going to explain why in the next slide right here. So let's look. When I look at this question, you have to understand there's two different ways that I can represent these two values. So I have -4 squared, and then I have -4 squared in parentheses. Okay? Now, it's understood, and this is the weird thing, it's understood that this negative sign right here is actually multiplying times the 4. So really, this is the same as writing -1 times 4 squared. So this would be -1 times 4 times 4, which would be -1 times 16, which would be -16. So you have to be careful. If you're squaring -4, you want to square not only the 4 itself, but also this negative sign. And in order to do that, you need to put it into parentheses or brackets like this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to square this -4. Now, because it's in brackets, I'm squaring the whole thing. In this case, I'm squaring the -4 and the -4. Okay, and now this is going to give me 16. So it's very important. These brackets are super important, and you have to understand that when they're there, they have a meaning, and when they're not there, this is the meaning that you actually have. Okay, so it's a very common mistake, and please try not to make it. Let's look at another example here. So I've got a couple of exponents here and some variables. Okay, and I want to talk about the difference of these two also. Now, if I was to actually replace A and B with numbers, you might notice, because there's a multiplication sign right here. You don't see it, but right in between this A and B, there's a multiplication sign. So if I was to say A is equal to 2, A equals 2, and B is equal to 3, and replace these two things, I would have A times B, which would be 2 times 3, but I'm squaring the B. So this particular thing right here has essentially the same meaning as this right here. Really what I'm doing is I'm squaring the b, but not the a. Okay, so this squared, this exponent, only applies to the b and not to the a. So this would actually look like this. It would be negative a times b times b, which may be what you're looking for, or it might not be what you're looking for. Now, if I'm doing, if I want to square the whole thing, I need to put it in brackets again, or parentheses. So once again, this has a different notation. This is squaring both of these because it applies to everything inside the brackets. So this would actually be negative a times negative a times b, or a squared b squared. So in this case, you would be squaring both things inside the brackets or parentheses. Okay, so you just have to be really careful about your notation when you're dealing with exponents. Thank you for watching.